No.
Have you ever arrived home after a long, hard day only to be greeted and comforted by your dog? Dogs just seem to have this unspoken understanding of the troubles that you're going through.
They do. Well, it's often said that animals can sense human emotions, but a new study has found that your dog might actually be taking on too much of your stress. For more on this, we're joined by Bronwyn Orr, who's a veterinarian and a PhD scholar. Bronwyn, thanks so much for your time this morning. Tell us a bit more about this study. What did it find?
Yeah, well, it was a really interesting study that's come out of Sweden. It was published in Nature's Scientific Reports, and what they did is they tracked 58 dog owner couples or pairs over the course of a year, and they measured their stress levels in their hair to see if their relationship with their stress was being mirrored, so if the dog's stress was matching the human stress. And what they found was that not only was it very closely mirrored, but that it was the human influencing the dog. So as the human stress levels went up throughout the year, the dog's stress levels also went up, and vice versa. They went down only when the humans went down.
So is this evidence that the dog was actually taking on the human stress?
It's definitely evidence that the dogs are not only perceiving our stress and our emotions, but they are actually mirroring it themselves. So physiologically, they are changing. So we know that dogs are very perceptive to human emotions. Anecdotally, many people will report that if they're feeling sad, their dog will come over and lay their head in their lap. And scientifically, we have shown that as well. But this is really interesting because it shows that this is stress in general. So, stress can be caused by lots of different things like financial and emotional, but it does have very serious impacts for not only our own health, but also for our dog's health, because obviously chronic stress is not good for anyone.
And the results differed between female dogs and male dogs, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So we've seen this in a few other species, humans included, but as well as chimpanzees and rats, where the female species, the female of the species is much more closely, emotionally responsive and more closely aligned to others in the species. So what happened with the dogs was that the female dogs were responding much more significantly to their human stress levels, and we think it's just because they're probably a bit more in tune with their owners.
What about other pets? Is this something that cats might do, or rabbits or other pets?
It's really interesting. We're not sure. We haven't got the evidence that shows that other pets do this, and it's probably not as likely. Dogs have had a head start on all of the other pets that we keep. So dogs have been co-evolving with us for about 15,000 years. Cats have only had about a couple of thousand years, and those other animals you mentioned, like rabbits and guinea pigs, well, they've had a lot less. So it's probably unlikely they're as closely attuned to our emotions as dogs are.
So to protect our dogs and make sure they're not getting so stressed, is there a way to kind of block our stress levels from the dog?
Unfortunately, the study didn't actually look at how we could stop that. I suspect that if you have a close relationship with your dog, it would be near impossible to stop them from feeling your stress, because it's just an intuitive thing that we are in tune in that way. However, I think it's a really great, example of how looking after ourselves can mean that we can also look after our pets better. So, for example, taking control of your own stress levels, doing things like going for a walk in nature. There was a study that came out just this week that showed 2 hours in nature every week is enough to decrease your stress levels. And that's a really good thing to do for yourself, but you can also take your dog, and we know that dogs really enjoy going for walks too. So there's nothing better than taking your dog for a walk out on the beach or in the park and just, taking a few moments to de-stress.
Some great advice there. Bronwyn Orr, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And later this morning, Josh, we're actually going to be talking about that study that found that 2 hours out in nature per week was a good thing. So maybe the advice is take your dog along and you can all de-stress together.
Yes, we'll be looking at the latest science stories with Jonathan Webb a little later on. I mean, if you don't do it for yourself, it sometimes gives you a good excuse to take care of yourself when you know that there's actually an outward altruistic reason for doing it. You're like, exactly. I don't want to be selfish and go and wander along the beach, but Fido needs it, so I will.